Around 2 weeks ago I did show you how the Barrage Implant works, and since then not much has changed. The nerf that was supposed to happen wasn't really a big nerf. The Barrage Implant ammo capacity has been reduced from 12 to 9, so the DPS should stay around the same, and the overall lethalness of this ship and the implant should be around the same. Now today I will go a little bit deeper into the Barrage Implant, because last time I didn't have a lot of time to actually show you the implant itself, and did not have enough time to show you all the general units and of course all the other secondary attributes of the implant. Now I will use the Machariel for this implant, because the Machariel is one of the best ships to use this implant on. Of course you can use the implant on the other cruisers, frigates, and of course other battleships that use turrets, because that implant works on all ships that use projectile turrets. Now the Machariel here has some pretty good stats. Overall it's fast, it warps like a cruiser, it has almost the agility of a cruiser, but it's of course a battleship. Now currently have 4,100 DPS, I use C-type large autocannons. This is basically my classic PvP build that I use on the Machariel. The only difference would be I use triple scramblers and one web. In this case I have triple webs and one scrambler. This also works, but I would still use a lot more scramblers to hold the target. And I have quad gyro stabilizers, which will improve the DPS quite a bit. Now for the rigs, I have 3 of the cannon burst aerator rigs. They are tier 4, and over here I have auxiliary thrusters and hyperspatial velocity optimizer. Very similar to the build that I use on my own Machariel. On the live server I have tier 4 rigs on the ship. It did improve the DPS quite a bit. 4.2 astronomical units per second is the warp speed, and of course the tank is not the main thing about this build. With this build you shoot down the target before the target shoots down you. Basically, if things go south you will have to warp out. And I use the Neon Rain core with only the cannon damage bonus, 19.20% extra cannon damage, which is nice. Of course other players might have the nano core fully leveled up, but in my case the base stat is enough. So let's take a look at the Barrage Repression implant. Now this implant will give you 6 charges upon skill activation. Cannon accuracy falloff is reduced 25%, while its activation time is reduced by 60%, maximum 60%. During skill activation, the cannon consumes 1 rapid fire ammo every time it strikes. When the amount of rapid fire ammo reaches 0, skills will be automatically disabled. The ship can store up to 6 shots of rapid fire ammo every 30 seconds. 1 shot will be loaded. Now this used to be 9 shots, but it got reduced to 6. Honestly, it did not do much. Well, the DPS and the damage output is roughly around the same. And here in the basic info you can take a look at the stats in a more clear way. So it enhances the firing rate by 60%. Now onto the general units. I use the maximum possible combination for DPS. I've been told that you can fit 2 of the same time on the live server. I think that's a bug which should be fixed very soon. Secondary skill can give you more ammo or faster recharge. I did pick for the more ammo option because, well, that's the better choice over here. Basically more DPS in a short amount of time. I have one afterburner general unit, boost output, tracking computer correction, which both works well. You can also use basically any other general unit that you like. Repression mode, minus 50% fall-off range attribute correction. Basically it can counter some of the things that the implant will reduce, but I did pick this one. It enhances the rate of fire by 25%, so around 85% extra rate of fire from the implant itself, which will drastically enhance the DPS output on this ship. And of course, these are the last two general units. Suppressive Fire will act like a stasis webifer. Basically, it will slow down the target, which will make them easier to hit, although this is one of the things that I would say it's a little bit more balanced on the implant. But yeah, combine this with the main attribute of the implant and you get a pretty broken ship. Now, let's check out the active DPS on the Machariel. Now the implant is active and you can leave the implant active, it will not be consumed. Unlike with the railgun implant, 16,000 DPS. This is already Dreadnought level DPS, already a little bit too much for my taste. 0.84 seconds is the activation time, 30.50% accuracy roll-off, optimal 6.24, and the tracking is still pretty good. Now let's activate one gyro stabilizer. 20,000 DPS, okay, let's go with the second one. 24,000 DPS, okay, this keeps getting better and better. With the 3 gyro stabilizers, 26,000, almost 27,000 DPS, and with the last one, the DPS is 28,000. This literally outperforms my Dreadnought, and this is some really ridiculous DPS indeed. 0.52, 6.24, 30.57. My apologies for the weird cut. So, time to take a look at the activation time is 3.38 seconds with everything on cooldown. While with the Barrage Implant active and with the quad gyro stabilizers active, the activation time is around 0.53 seconds. That is a little bit ridiculous.
Docking
you
request
can fire
accepted.
2 times within 1 second. Very interesting. That explains the ridiculous DPS that you can get on the Machariel. Now, I want to change the build a little bit, and I have placed C-type large artillery cannons. Now, these are long-range weapons. They have around 20 to 50,000 alpha damage. Overall, very solid optimal and very solid accuracy valve, 2318.86 DPS at the moment. Now let's take a look how much DPS I can get with the Barrage Implant using large artillery cannons. 10,000 DPS with only the Barrage Implant active. That is already not okay, that's a lot of DPS. Activation time 2.26 seconds, tracking speed 2.65, optimal range 50.23 kilometers, accuracy valve 46.92. With one gyro stabilizer, it's 12,000 DPS. Okay, with the second one, the DPS is 14,000, almost 15,000 DPS. With the third one, the DPS is 16,000, and with the last one, the DPS should be around 18,000. 17,527.18 DPS with the large artillery cannons. So, activation time 1.31 seconds. So that's 100,000 damage within 2 seconds. 2.5 seconds to be more accurate. That's a lot of damage. Now, the activation time and reactivation delay will be affected by the implants. That's because of the general units that I have equipped. 30.8 seconds and 176 seconds the reactivation delay. Activation time adjustment 292 and activation time adjustment -6%. Well, yeah, I think this is a really broken ship. and a very broken implant. Overall, a very broken combination to
Docking
say the
request
least.
accepted.
Okay, now it's one thing to look at numbers on paper, a whole different story when you actually use that in combat. So, let's actually go
Warp drive
and
active.
blow up a ship. I think that will be a good example of what this implant and this ship is capable for. Now, last time I did destroy a Hyperion within 11 seconds, but today let's actually test out on a fully integrated ship for tank, and it will be a faction ship. It will be a Balgorn. Should be, you know, a little bit more difficult to shoot down, but we will see. We have the implant quotation marks nerfed from 12 to 9 shots, so the Balgorn should technically live a couple seconds longer, but let's find out. So, first hit reached 50% shield, second hit, now the Balgorn is losing shield. The armor is now taking damage, Barrage Implant is active, and well, there goes the armor, that was quick. Now the Balgorn is in low armor. I have activated the damage control to help reduce the incoming damage from the Balgorn. And a brick tank Balgorn was destroyed within, I think, 30-40 seconds, something like that. And they haven't even went through my shield. Keep in mind, I have no tank on this. This Machariel is only DPS. So, let
Warp
me
drive
warp
active.
out and let's take a look at the kill. So this is a fully integrated Balgorn. Of course, it will be worth around 15 billion ISK. And here you can take a look at the rigs, 4P rig integrations, full on resistance, and of course the Balgorn had a nanocore. A ship like this did not stand a chance against a Machariel with the Barrage Implant. There's just no way to tank 40,000 DPS to the face, or in this case, 28,000 DPS.
Active.
Well then, that was interesting. Definitely something that I did expect to happen. After all, the Hyperion is more tanky than the Balgorn, and if the Hyperion got deleted very quickly, then the Balgorn would be deleted as well. Now let's take a look at the damage output against something else like a Providence in this case, a freighter. Let's see how quickly this thing can go through the shield and armor of a capital ship. Now, of course, a dreadnought would not be affected a lot by one single Machariel with this implant, but if the dreadnought gets jumped by a bunch of them, then things might be interesting for the dreadnought. So the shield has been removed, and now I'm removing the armor of the Providence. Still pretty terrifying alpha damage, pretty terrifying DPS even without the Barrage Implant. I have around, I think it's 7.5, 9,000 to 9,000 DPS with only the gyro stabilizers, which is still a lot. That is already striker level DPS. And now the Providence is into hull, so a couple of these ships can easily go through a freighter within a couple seconds, which I think is really weird, overpowered. I think a lot of players would agree with this, and I don't know. The idea for the implants is very nice, but How they made them, not so much. Now, of course, in the good old fashion,
Warp
I will
drive
go
active.
and yeet this ship straight on the gate guns, because why not? That's what I usually do. And then I will go and run couple missions to see how well does the barrage actually work in missions. Now, based on what I've seen that the barrage implant can do, I wouldn't be really using it for missions. I personally think that the barrage is mostly very usable for PvP, because it has that crazy like burst that you can basically like deliver 500,000 damage in a couple seconds, which is good for PvP when you focus one target, but for missions you really want to have a more stable DPS
Warp
output.
drive active.
Now for missions, I did change the low slots a little bit. I have replaced one gyro into one afterburner. I have one shield booster and one adaptive shield hardener that should keep the ship alive. It should have some form of tank, but mostly it will be focused on DPS. So, for missions, I see one use for the barrage implant to quickly kill a elite ship. It can also be useful if you like to do missions in low sec, where you have a lot of pirates. A Machariel with triple webs can easily hit most ships, including stealthy bombers and stealthy Stratos tackle ships. And that in return will make them very vulnerable to the incoming fire from the Machariel. If you have barrage, doesn't matter if it's level 15 or level 30, it will kill a cruiser in couple seconds once you activate it. So yeah, you should be really safe with the barrage implant and with the Machariel inside of low sec encounters and storyline missions. However, you might still be vulnerable to kite ships like the Ortus, although the Machariel can easily kill an Ortus if you have tracking computers. Although, not really sure how effective would it be if you activate barrage that reduces the optimal range by 25%. I think you still get a pretty good range bonus from the tracking computer, so I guess in theory a orbiting Ortus is very dead if you start shooting at it with the Machariel. For a ship like that, you don't even need barrage to kill it. Basically the Ortus is mostly paper, it doesn't have any tank, so it's usually a very quick kill. However, tanky ships might be a different story. For the Stratius you have to kill it before other ships warp in, and that is very difficult. Mostly because you have to be expecting the Stratius, and usually by the time a player reacts to a tackle Stratius, the fleet is already in warp, and at that time it's already too late to shoot down the Stratius. However, with the implant, even if you make a small mistake, even if you don't lock the ship on time, you still can technically kill it because of the ridiculous, insane DPS that you can deliver in couple seconds. I mean, you saw me delete that Balgorn in like what, 30 seconds? And that's not your average build Balgorn without rig integrations. That Balgorn, as you could see, had 4P60 rig integrations, maximum 10, maximum resistances, and it still went down like it did not even have any tank. So a really odd moment in the game, I would say. Odd because we have battleships with dreadnought level DPS, even though it's for like 10 seconds. 10 seconds is all you need to break someone's tank. 10 seconds is literally everything you need to win a fight. Not really sure how devastating this ship would be in the 1v1 arena, and I'll be honest with you, I personally don't want to feel that DPS on any of my ships. But if you encounter a Barrage Machariel and if they somehow get in range, you're probably losing the fight. Same can be said if the Machariel is using the long-range artillery cannons. Although, I would guess if you use tracking disruptors in the arena, you can somehow, I guess, reduce the incoming damage. You can definitely affect the tracking of the ship. But outside of the arena in the classic Eve, this ship will just melt anything. Just take for example what we do. We have one ship that tackles and we have Machariels waiting, Barrage Machariels. When the target is tackled, we warp in and we delete a tanky battleship in around 20 seconds. At the moment, we're in around 20 seconds, sometimes even less. The last target was another Machariel, tanky Machariel, that died so fast, my hits on shield were registered as hits on armor. Basically, the incoming DPS was so high that the game glitched out and the overview did not display the actual status of the ship. And that is, yes, pretty much game breaking if you ask me. I know 7 or 8 players that have the Barrage Implant from level 30 to level 45. It costs around, I've been told it costs around 30 billion to fully level up one implant. Not really sure if that's accurate, that's just what I've been told. Someone also told me it costs 900 billion to level up one implant, so not really sure which one is more accurate. If I were to guess, 900 billion might be the actual number, not really sure. Again, I haven't bought the implant on the live server because I'm basically waiting for it to be nerfed. However, as I see time go on and on, I'm not really sure when it will be nerfed. So I might just end up buying it and, you know, join the Barrage Machariel Death Squad, because that's what Machariels currently do. I think the Machariel became the most feared and the scariest ship in the game, just because of the implant and just because of the chance to meet one. You know, they would say the Balagorn is the best 1v1 ship. Well, I would say not anymore. Not anymore with this thing flying around. The Balagorn just can't tank the damage that a Barrage Machariel can deliver in a couple seconds. Maybe the Rattlesnake, maybe the Nightmare. I think Nightmare can easily tank this without a problem, but Nightmare is not a solo PvP ship or not a ship that you would usually use for fleets in LoSAC. The Nightmare is mostly used for big fleets and CTA fleets, and of course special operations. However, the Rattlesnake might be a whole different story. I think the Rattlesnake might be the next ship that I want to test this thing on, because I believe a brick tank Rattlesnake should be able to withstand the first round of the Barrage Implant. I have some pretty broken Rattlesnake builds that I think should be able to deal with a ship like this, so I'm really glad that I did create those very expensive Rattlesnakes in the past, because as you can see, they might actually be very useful and they might actually have pretty good use now with the broken implants running around. Now, someone also told me that the Vindicator is also very broken, and I did try the Vindicator. I did manage to get around 15,000 DPS, 12 or 15,000 depends on the implant, and I will show you that in a couple days, of course. But the number one broken implant is the Barrage Implant. Second most broken implant is the high power core implant for the railguns. Third most overpowered implant would be the laser implant. And missiles would be, I would say, the most balanced ones, although they are still a little bit broken. But if we compare them to the other 3 implants that I just mentioned, the missile implants would appear to be the most balanced ones. So, that's basically what the Barrage Implant is. As you can see, ridiculous PvP application. For PvE, for missions, not so good because you can only like destroy one ship with the barrage, with the full implant, and then you have to wait for the reload, which takes around 30 seconds for one charge. But for PvP, that's basically all you need. One full cycle of the barrage implant and 95% of ships will be destroyed within the first, I don't know, like 10 to 15 seconds. Brick tanks will last around 40 seconds against a Barrage Machariel with this current build. So with that being said, hope that you enjoyed this ridiculous ride with the Machariel. Honestly, ridiculous DPS output lately, but that's basically the thing that these implants can currently do. So with that being said, hope that you enjoyed. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.